allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dolly, can you do roll call, please?
Supervisor Flaherty,
Here.
Councilwoman Cataldi,
Present?
Councilman Cahill.
Here.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Here.
Town Attorney Genesi.
Present.
Okay, next up, I just wonder, is anybody, friends or family here tonight for the proclamation to rename North Pond Parks to the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park? I always gotta look behind this beam. I don't think anybody is. I just wanted to make sure, because if family or friends were here, we would go up to the podium and have them. But in the absence of that, because I think the family's coming in tomorrow for the event, right, Patty?
That's what I was told.
Yeah, okay. Well, then I'm gonna read this, and for anybody who's in the room or watching live on channel 1303 or live stream, my Supervisor's Corner article in the Webster Herald today, and also what is on our website, town website, and social media, addressed Charlie Sexton. Unfortunately, in the written version, I alluded to his obituary written by a Victoria Friel from the Democrat and Chronicle back in July of 2021 when Charlie passed away. Unfortunately, and it happens, the obituary article didn't get in to the Webster Herald, but I invite anybody to go online to the Webster website and social media, because that obituary article is there, and I think it's a wonderfully written by a professional writer tribute to Mr. Sexton. So, without further ado, whereas Charles E. Sexton was hired as the first recreation director in the town of Webster, and he served in that role from 1962 through 1996, retiring from the town of Webster with 34 years of service. And whereas Charles E. Sexton was the first African American to hold the position of recreation director in New York State and was a U.S. Army veteran, and whereas in 1962, Charles E. Sexton started the Recreation Department and began providing programs to the residents of Webster, New York. Today's current recreation programs are a testament to Mr. Sexton and his vision for a community recreation program. Charles E. Sexton introduced the town's first programs for seniors and launched the town's first summer youth camps. And whereas Charles E. Sexton was considered forward-thinking, creative, and a proud community member, and whereas North Ponds Park was a proud accomplishment of Charles E. Sexton and honoring his work and commitment to the town of Webster by renaming North Ponds Park to the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park in recognition of his sustained and successful work as recreation director is in order. Now therefore be it resolved by the town of Webster, New York, that the town board does hereby rename North Ponds Park the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park in recognition of his sustained and successful efforts to establish this important park. In the town of Webster, under my hand and the private seal of the town of Webster, this 21st day of April 2022. It is signed, the camera can see it, by me as the supervisor. I would imagine, Patty, we will present this to the family tomorrow.
Yes, I would
Who's
think we will.
traveling in from all corners of the United States. And now, that's the proclamation. Now the actual formal stuff. It's nice that we have a proclamation, but until the town board votes and does a motion on it, it's moot point. So I'm gonna make a motion to authorize the town of Webster to rename North Pond Parks located at 750 Holt Road to the Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park effective Friday, April 22nd, 2022.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty,
Aye.
Councilman Cahill,
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn,
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
With pleasure, aye.
Well, I will tell you this. Read up on Mr. Sexton's life. That's the stuff that books and movies are made about. Pretty impressive.
And I think we should let everyone know that there will be a, excuse me, a ceremony tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the newly named Charles E. Sexton Memorial Park, where we will have a few speakers in Charles' memory and unveil the new sign.
Thank you, Patty. All right. Well, along the same lines, we have a second proclamation tonight. This one's a little bit more in general. It's a proclamation for National Volunteer Week. Now, is anybody here for that proclamation who's a volunteer that we would go up to the podium and read this? I think everybody is here for other things tonight, Dolly. So, I'm going to read off that one. This proclamation for outstanding public service presented to all Webster volunteers. Whereas on April 20th, 1974, President Richard Nixon established National Volunteer Week to show appreciation for dedicated volunteers and individuals who have given up their time. And whereas the week of April 17th through 23rd, 2022, our great nation celebrates National Volunteer Week. This year's theme for National Volunteer Week is Empathy in Action. The town of Webster salutes your compassion for others and truly believes that a strong connection between each other is at the center of healthier individuals and robust communities. And whereas the town of Webster takes enormous pride in a community rich in devoted volunteers who make important and positive changes through their individual and group actions, and whereas these individuals have become a vital, valuable force in our community and have given the most treasured gift that they could give to the Webster community, their time. And for this, the town of Webster owes each and every one of them a debt of gratitude. Now therefore it be resolved that on this occasion of National Volunteer Week, the Webster community and the Webster Town Board extend our sincerest thank you to all the Webster volunteers for their many contributions to the town of Webster, and hereby proclaims Friday, April 22nd, 2022 as Volunteer Appreciation Day in the town of Webster. All right. Before we move on, I know that also, speaking of volunteers, Jenny, you were at the museum meeting in the
Yes.
last couple of days, and they have a ton of volunteers over there, and I know that you had honored them
Yes,
for
I
all
did.
that volunteers.
Yep, for the proclamation too, and they just wanted to say thank you so much,
Yep.
for that.
All right, next up is a public hearing for proposed changes to fence and shed setback regulations, local law number 2. And each speaker who is in the room who wants to speak on this will be allowed up to 5 minutes on the podium. I take it that we've had a sign-in sheet. That's the fairest way to figure out who goes first, second, third.
Did people sign in?
Can you? I don't know.
Do we know?
Oh, that's okay. Then you know what? Hey, you know what? We're flexible here. So what we're gonna do is we'll just move right to left from my viewpoint, and then that's how we'll go in order for the people that are here to speak on the behalf of that. I am gonna open the public hearing, and
With gusto.
the gentleman here, are you here for that?
I am.
Go right on up to the podium.
Well, I have a lot to say.
And we'd ask you to start with your name and your address, please.
So, my name's Chris Huber, and we live at 752 Northbrook Way in Webster, obviously. I just want to say my wife and I just purchased our home this past year. Anybody who knows what the housing market's like right now, it's an accomplishment. And lucky to live in Webster, hoping to put up a fence this year, but we ran into the current regulations. Wanted to put up a 6-foot fence, and it has to be 10 foot from all property lines. Problem is that cuts into our square footage pretty significantly. And so because of that, we're kind of left with the decision of whether it makes sense or not to even put up a fence in the first place. But we've had some privacy concerns and things, and so it is really important to us. And so I guess all I really wanted to say is that I think it just comes down to, trusting that people are going to still have the respect for both the town and their neighbors and the property, right? And if we're going to put a fence closer than that, I think we just have to be able to take care of that property line and keep things, up to snuff and make sure that things look well, look nice and aren't contributing to like declining property value or anything like that. But I think if that can be done, then I think it makes sense to do what all the other towns have done and remove that distance requirement or at least shorten it. So thank you guys very much.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, so this is where I'm, okay, well then I was gonna say, I can't tell from this angle, but are you here?
I'm with him.
You're with him?
She doesn't want to.
Ah! Okay, now we're coming across to the couple that's in the back. I assume you're a couple, are you together? Okay. Jeez. Sorry, and you're not here to talk, to be in the public hearing, you don't want to speak?
Well, I guess we could. Could we just talk from here?
You cannot, so.
Or I don't know. Well, it has to do with putting up a shed.
Well, and
Can you hear me?
As Deputy Supervisor Cataldi had said, can you give your name and
Oh.
your address?
It's Margot and that's Steve. We're at 768 South Huckleberry Way, Webster. And we've just moved in maybe 8 months ago. But our question is, can the shed go a little bit beyond the fence? And which is 10 feet, it has to be 10 feet, the fence. So we're just questioning how, do we have more room for that shed to start back there beyond the fence and become part of that? Or 5 feet back, using that property, that's just, we're
Yeah,
wondering
from the property line
if,
would be 5 feet is what's being proposed to change.
Thank you, John.
so it's just a shed question, is all we have.
Josh, I mean, in the current structure, if you wouldn't mind,
Sure, yeah. So currently sheds have to be 15 feet from the rear and side property lines,
Yes,
and fences have to be 10 feet. So I think your question is, can a fence be located outside of the fenced area? Is
can the
that
shed be outside?
currently? No,
No.
no.
But is there some beginning of changing something on that, or is it this?
Yeah, so that's the purpose of tonight's public hearing. So the proposal is to change the setbacks for sheds to be able to be located 5 feet from any rear or side property line.
Okay,
And then a fence, which is currently required to be 10 feet off the property line, is proposed to be able to go right up to the property line.
okay, thank you.
thank you. All right, I think from my angle, this gentleman here in the front, are you here for the public hearing? No, okay. Les, you got a fence you want to talk about, shed? Nope. Are you here? There we go, all right.
Good evening. My name is Susan Freer. I live at 546 Clem Road. My husband and I have lived here since 1976, and we currently have a 4-foot fence, and we've been struggling for a long time with our deer population, and I'm hoping that having a 6-foot fence would kind of deter some of the damage done to our property for flowers and things. I think that most of the houses in our area now are 1/4-acre lots. Mine happens to be one of the older lots that's a 1/2-acre lot, but it's still coming in that 10 feet from the property line in order to put up a 6-foot fence. really does encroach on, usability of the yard. And I think it's well over past time that this be addressed. I know in looking around the area, there are a number of fences that are higher than 4 feet. And people have, as it says in the brochure that was sent out, there are a lot of people that haven't bothered to get permits, have just put up the fences. And unless somebody complains, nothing's done. And I do have a question about when you go to sell your house, if you've put up a shed or a fence without getting the proper permits, are you going to be dinged for not getting the permits? And if that's something that that's going to be addressed, with these changes.
May I?
You most certainly can, Jess.
So yes, that issue has come up quite a bit. And yes, it does propose a problem for the home buyer, that they then get stuck with trying to rectify the violation or the work done without a permit. So yes, we have seen that quite a bit when properties change hands and the bank requires a zoning letter of compliance. We see survey maps with sheds and fences that aren't compliant, and yes, it can often impact or delay the sale of a home, and then the new person that purchased the home is often responsible for bringing it into compliance.
Thanks, Josh. The gentleman next to you. From my angle, Barry, he was before you.
My name is David Nemchik. I live at 416 Brookwood Drive with my daughter, and she's looking to put up a fence at the rear of the property line, which is very close to, I think it's called Woodland Trail. And the houses on Woodland Trail are much closer to the front of the property line. So she wants to put a fence up for 2 reasons. One is a privacy fence, so that we're not looking right into the people on the other side of Woodland Drive's front yard when we're sitting on the back deck. And secondly, because my son has 2 children, and they're going to be out there playing with balls and so forth, and without a fence, they hit a ball, the land slopes downward toward Woodland Trail, the balls are going to run right into the road. And with 2 little toddler boys, we don't want them running right into the road, so we're looking to put up a privacy fence. And it would be nice if it could be closer to the property line, because there are some big trees set back about the same distance as the current regulations are, so we really wouldn't be able to put a fence up. So I kind of concur with what the first gentleman's comments were as well. And having read your document here, I think it's good that the board consider revising the current regulations on setbacks for fences from the property line. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Barry, are you? Oh, sure, okay. Well, now I gotta figure out around this thing. I would say that the young lady next to you, Barry, would be next. Do you have anything to say at the public hearing on this?
I didn't come here with the intention of making a speech or begging for anything.
You would have, is this about the fences and the sheds?
Well, that's my interest. But,
Oh, then come right up to the podium.
well, I wasn't planning on making a speech at any time.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
I may change my mind before it's over.
Gotcha, all righty.
We will let you do that.
All right, then I'm gonna come up to the gentleman that's in front of you, that would be you.
I'm actually here for Candlewood.
Gotcha. Same. And then last but not least in the corner.
Okay.
All right.
name is Paul. I live on Close Circle on the old part, on the curve,
Paul, what's the address on Close Circle?
731. I'd like to see the setback for sheds changed because I'd like to put a shed in my backyard, but I don't want to put it in the middle of my backyard because I have a pool and a deck, and I don't really want to put the shed in the middle of my backyard. My shed, rather. And as it stands right now, you have to go 15 feet in from the property line, and that would put that directly in the middle of my backyard, which I really don't want to. I'd like to move it closer to the edge of my property. When I bought the house in '87, there was a previous shed there that the previous owner had put there. I had an issue several years later with a neighbor behind me. She measured her lot line to my lot line and then complained to the town that the shed was near the lot line on my property, near the lot line of her property. The town wrote me a letter stating I had to remove the shed or move it in a little bit closer into my property. It was on stilts, and I was not able to do that, so I had to end up having somebody come in and move the shed and take it away, all one piece. So I have no shed. All my stuff is in my garage, and I'd like to put a shed back out there on my property so I could put my gardening stuff and my riding lawnmower and so on and so forth back in the shed and get a shed. But the lady in the back of me complained, and I got a letter, and I had to take care of it. And I got nothing to put anything in. I just have used half my garage for all my stuff. And I think it would be nice to have the 5 feet addressed from the property line.
Thank you. Thanks.
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wasn't here for about the shed, but if you want,
Just come on up.
Yeah, Walt Bailey, we live at 1092 Peaceful Trail, 1092 Bear Creek Circle. We just moved in from Webster. Yeah, I saw that in the paper a while back about instead of 15, could have a 5-foot setback. And I think, to me, that would be fantastic. The shed that I do have, I had to move on one side of the house where I had enough space in the yard. And because I couldn't put it behind me, otherwise I could step off my deck right onto the roof of the shed, where it would be closer to the garage. And with that setback, that would be, something like that would be perfect. I think it would help a lot of other people too, especially right now, if I could move the shed there, I'd have to come in for a variance just to make up probably 12 inches. And, but changing the setback, I think it's been a while, and it's been well overdue, and I think that would be great for the community and for people, situation like his and mine.
Great.
So,
Thanks,
all right,
Walt.
that's good. I'll be back.
Okay. Well, I guess. Barry, you want to bring up the rear?
My name is Barry Barone at 482 Joseph Circle, and I'm a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the last 5 years. What we just heard from the residents is what we hear at the Zoning Board of Appeals every meeting. Collectively, shed and fence variances are by far the most frequently sought-after variances that we see. I think Josh could attest to that. In Josh's letter in the Town Times, it was really well done. The town's changed, and the laws and zoning codes that are in place, some of them are, I think one of them dated back to what, 1938?
Correct.
Okay. We're not the same town. I think we had a meeting early in Tom Flaherty's tenure, and I was invited to the meeting because at the time I was chairman of the board of the zoning board. And we were talking about zoning issues and variances, and Tom said, do we need to revise the zoning code? I said, absolutely not. We just need to tweak it. We need to make some adjustments. The zoning codes work quite well in this. It's a beautiful town. That's a testament to that we have good zoning. We have beautiful neighborhoods. We have commercial and corridors and so on and so forth. But when you hear all these residents saying, I want to get my shed a little closer to the line, or I want to get my fence closer to the line, we hear this time and time and time again. So I think this action that you're undertaking right now is long overdue. A fence serves a few purposes. It keeps the kids in, as you heard, keeps the pets in. It keeps strangers out of your yard. It's privacy, and it also defines lot lines. When you put a fence 10 feet off a lot line, it doesn't define the lot line, because you don't know what's going on the other side of that fence. It's just kind of an odd, I don't know exactly where that came from. I think it was a previous town board's effort to discourage 6-foot fences in the town, basically, because when you got to move it in 10 feet, who wants that? So now you have these corridors of unkempt areas outside the fence. It effectively makes the person's backyard usable space less. And, you know, there's a saying, good fences make good neighbors. We've seen some arguments at the zoning board where neighbors are arguing with each other over the placement of a fence. If it's on the lot line, there's no argument. The sheds, I don't know what setbacks you're looking at. I don't know, was it 7.5 feet or was it 5 feet or?
It was revised to 5 feet.
I like 5 feet. Now, the other thing that's changed in town quite substantially, years ago, all the lots were 100 foot by 200 feet, half-acre lots. It's not the case anymore. I would dare say every development in town now being townhouses, apartments, but the residential lots are pretty much all cluster lots, and they're usually like 70 or 80 feet wide, 150 feet deep. They're not the 100 by 200 foot lots anymore. So, and I've heard it from one of these folks here, when you put the shed 15 feet off the line, rear and sideline, it's coming quite a ways into the backyard and uses up some of their usable space. So the demographics have changed. Yards are smaller. The fence coming in encroaches on their yard. The sheds coming in encroach on their yard. I think this action that the town board is considering is well overdue. I think, I just think that, not that I'm looking to save myself work, we're going to see a lot less variances. The other thing that came up tonight was that a lot of people, when they don't get the permit that they want, they'll put it where they want. They won't get a permit. They'll put the shed too close to the line. They'll put the fence too close to the line, hoping nobody catches it. Somebody buys the house from them. They come to the zoning board of appeals looking to legalize their illegal shed and fence that they purchased unbeknownst to them. Because most people aren't, they're not up to date on these things. They don't follow that. They just assume everything's done properly. So I think it's a great idea, and I hope the board moves forward with this sooner rather than later, because I had just a short chat with Tom, and I said, we're into fence and shed season. I mean, every week we're going to see, this is spring, people are going to be coming in, they want to put up sheds, they want to put up fences. So hopefully the town board moves forward with this. I think it's a great idea. That's all.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. And to your last point, I think this shows, positive customer service too. So if this gets changed, gets passed, residents will have the ability to just go to the town hall and get a permit. And I've taken calls from 2 town residents this week already asking when this was coming to the forefront. So I'm glad it's here. I think it's way overdue.
Well, I've heard some people reference the handout, the article that Josh did. I know we had a workshop, Josh presented this
Yes.
PowerPoint. It's pretty telling.
Yes, it is.
And I mean, it was a well-done, kind of told the history of the last 80 years, and it was eye-opening. Now, the young lady back there said she was reserving judgment. Do you want to get up?
All eyes are on you.
You
No
had
pressure.
said you don't have to, but I think we're done with the live speakers on this. But I don't want to shut you down if you want to get up and.
No, you're not. The only thing I have to say is
Oh, knock yourself out. For those at home that could, she'd like to give Mr. Barone a hug. Now, before we close up or close down the public hearing, we did get some emails, some written things to the website that we want to enter into the public hearing minutes, Dolly. We actually got 9 of them. All of what they wrote will be put into the record, but for expediency's sake, I'll just kind of give a Reader's Digest. Todd Clausen from 543 Hills Pond Road it would like to see these changes made. Jason Croning, he has a Webster resident, didn't have his address. He would like to see the changes made. Dave Kennedy at 490 Bay Meadow Drive, he is against these changes. And I will say this, out of fairness, since 7 people spoke in person tonight, and you got a chance to hear 7 that were positive for this, I think because Mr. Kennedy is against it, it might merit reading so you can kind of get the other side of the story. So Dave Kennedy wrote, in regard to the location of fences within residential properties, I do not support the revisions being proposed. My concern apply mostly to taller, over 4 feet solid fences. Those are opaque or otherwise block light that are proposed to be permitted directly on a property line. Opaque fences cast shade that can be damaging to planting of shrubs, flowers, or vegetables located near the boundary of the adjacent property. A 6-foot fence north to south casts a shadow exceeding 6 feet for 25% of every day. Any fence located on a property line necessitates that periodic maintenance on the good side be performed standing on the neighbor's property, which may or may not be accessible depending on what's located there and, of course, on the relationship between the people. 3, many people find fences, particularly solid fences, to be unattractive, and those choose not to install them on their property. To permit a neighbor to install a fence with 0 setback is an affront to their aesthetic preferences. In many ways, the current system of systematically reviewing requests for variances works effectively, permitting those without objection to proceed. However, there may be a reasonable compromise worth considering. Continue the current provision of permitting 4-foot fences on the lot line. Differentiate between opaque and non-opaque fences over 4 feet tall. A fence is considered opaque if it obstructs the passage of light through more than 15% of the surface area occupied by its outermost dimensions. The setback on opaque fences over 4 feet should remain unchanged at 5, 10, 15, and 20 feet for 5, 6, 7, and 8-foot fences. The setback for non-opaque fences over 4 feet can be modified to 5 feet setback for 5 feet fence, 10-foot setback on smaller fences. If the ordinance doesn't otherwise address the topic of maintenance and repairs to the outward-facing side of fences, it should. It's a very articulate point. And it's one, actually, I think, Josh, that you brought up about a lot of these fences now where you can pull the panels out and maintain them, the other side of the fence that would be on your neighbors.
Correct.
John Bustard at 1050 Clem Road, he was for the changes. Dave Woolrob, he doesn't have his address. Oh, he does, 714 Cogdell Circle. He was against it, so I'm going to read this one. It's a little shorter than Dave Kennedy's, and it's there's only 2 that we got that were negative against it. I will not be able to attend the public hearing regarding changes to sheds and fence setbacks. Would like to express a couple of concerns regarding the changes. First, if I had my choice, I would outright ban 6-foot fences in all residential areas, especially in small lot developments. They are ugly, not usually well maintained, and result in a closed-in feeling. I would not want a 6-foot stockade fence, plastic or otherwise, running down both sides of my lot, especially on the lot line. How will my side of the fence be maintained, which, by the way, is supposed to be the good side of the fence, without the fence owner trespassing on my property? How will the fence owner even know the fence needs maintenance? I am opposed to any change in the ordinance that will put a 6-foot fence on the property line. I don't want to be, quote, closed in, unquote, by an eyesore. It would be okay with a 5-foot setback. At least the fence owner could make an attempt to maintain it. I also believe the present requirement for a 5-foot fence should be maintained out of the same concern for maintenance and an openness feeling, especially in small lot developments. As for shed setbacks, I would be okay with a 5-foot side and rear. So I'm gonna stop there. He's for the shed setback, so he's a half and half. Then we had John Fisher write in. He was for the changes. And we had Beth Wheeler from 649 Beverly Drive. She was for the changes. Ken Corpus, I don't know if he has his address here. He was for the changes. And last but not least, Mike Solway from 752 Patty Lane was for the changes. So we got 9 written, 7 for it, I guess 7.5 for it, because Mr. Wilbrobs was, and 1.5 against. And we had 7 speakers tonight, where all 7 were for it. So it gives a bit of a temperature of this issue. Something that I had talked about was that one of your best temperatures of the issue was in the packet that Josh presented at a workshop last month, 71 fence variance applications in 10 years. I can assure you that those 71 people are for this change. So I guess we'll see if anybody wants to call in on this. I'm only going to give it a minute or two, and then if we don't get a call in, we will close the public hearing. And this is not something the town board is going to vote on tonight. I think it was important to get these comments, to hear the public hearing. It would be something we do at a future board meeting.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see the vote as soon as possible.
Cinco de Mayo,
As soon as possible.
and that would be May 5th, our next regular town board meeting. Geez, I wonder if we bored the watching audience, or if you guys did such a good job talking on the podium that it's been all said. I'm going to shut it down then. So, unless anybody else has anything to say, I am going to close the public hearing.
When will we get an answer to our issue? Do you have any idea?
Councilman Kale, and we were just saying that we will come back to a future board meeting and vote on a resolution to change the code, the local law, and it might be as soon as May 5th. That's our next regular town board meeting. All right? So, without further ado, it's not a public hearing at that point. There wouldn't be any opportunity to get up and talk on it again, unless, as I close out this public hearing. And what time is that at? 8:09. Okay, so that public hearing went from 7:40 to 8:09. Next up.
Could I ask a question before we move on?
Sure.
This question is for you, Josh. It says the local law will take effect immediately upon the appropriate filing. So the May, 4th or 5th meeting?
5th.
If this is on the agenda, we vote in the affirmative. How soon after that is the appropriate filing done? So
You
people
may
can-
rather direct that to the town clerk, Mr. Gale.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know where it's supposed to go.
I
apologize.
submit it to the state immediately.
And then, so people could come in the following day?
Well, I'll mail it out that day.
Okay. 'Cause I'm getting phone calls. People are very anxious.
Sure, and I always figure that is the 3rd of May is the Tuesday that is that the next zoning board meeting, or is that the next planning board meeting?
Planning board.
So is the next zoning board of appeals meeting the 10th?
Correct.
That is the next one?
Yes.
It'd be nice to have it tied up by then, because,
Yes.
then it will save people coming in for the variances, but, all right, so next up is, we call this the open mic part. You can step up to the mic, and you have up to 5 minutes to talk about anything that you would like. I would just ask that it is not regarding the fences and sheds. that was in the public hearing that we had 29 minutes on. Does anybody want to take the podium to talk about anything?
I know that there are some speakers here who want to discuss number 6 with the Candlewood Park District. Do you want them to speak now or when we get to number 6?
They would speak now. Yes, this is the time to speak. So if you're here to talk, if you want to talk about Candlewood or Bear Creek or the Park District, please come up and state your name and address again.
I just had a mental block with that. Walter Bailey at 1092 Bear Creek Circle. We'll be in our house now, be 5 years. We've been in the Webster here, great place, love it. And that, so when we had our house build, we were told by our builder that we had access to a walking Candlewood Park and by a green area there. We were never told that we were actually giving money to Candlewood. And we found this out after we had the first full year and paying our taxes and found out, okay, we're sending this much and it's going to parks over to Candlewood. And then when I came to town hall and found it to talk with people there and they're very nice about it, found out that we were supplying, I guess, I don't even know if you could call it a true homeowners association, but to me that's what it was. I came from one previously, and so to me this was a homeowners association. But I found out that money that was going into this over the years had nothing to do with Bear Creek Circle. And when I contacted, found out through the town again who was head of the association over there, Candlewood, and went and spoke with them, and they never knew that Bear Creek Circle was part of Candlewood project also. So after looking into it more, I found out that, my neighbor has been here, had people been on the street for 12 years, that they have been paying that over to Candlewood, and nothing has ever been done to Bear Creek Circle. We noticed that there were lights over there at the entrances. They had somebody coming in, cutting part of the grass when some trees had been cut down. That was taken care of. And that, I think Patricia came to the house.
I did.
You did? And
we had a
when she was
discussion
asked,
about
do you have, any concerns of that? And I go, oh, wait a minute, yes, I do. And she said she was going to check into that and talk with, found out that we have to be pretty much through New York State legislature, that we have to be split. Question about that is that being split into our own park division, exactly what does that do? Are we still paying then our own dues or associations into that, or why can't it just be abolished and we're a town street? So, and that's some of the concerns that I wanted to know about, exactly what's going to happen now with payments, if we have to pay, or do we set up our own payment? Oh yeah, everybody pitch in $1 and we don't have to pay anything else to that. And the money that goes into this, I guess the town takes, it's held in an account during the town, and that if we want something done like Candlewood said, they would have to propose a budget and turn it in to see if they have the money that they're able to get the projects done or not. So just really concerned about exactly what's going to happen if we are split. And if we can split, why can't it just be abolished as another park? Why does it have to be set up as a park division?
A lot of meat on the bone of that one, huh, Charlie?
How about that?
Maybe I should respond. I have met with certain people who live in the Candlewood Park District over the years, myself and Supervisor Flaherty and a number of other town personnel, Commissioner of Parks and Rec, among others. This is a very unique situation. I mean, unique probably in the state, because there really is no legislative means to do this. There's statutes that talk about creating park districts, abolishing park districts, adding to park districts, but not really to separate them. And yes, you're correct. We have to go to the state legislature. So there's like 4 separate steps. The first one is that the town board would have to request well, they would have to approve the separation and then make a request to the state legislature. But we would also have to give notice to everybody who's potentially involved. Now, I believe there are 123 members of the Park District, I believe. I don't know.
That sounds about right.
That's what I have, I think, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that sounds
Director of
about right.
Finance is here, and he's actually the one that sort of, and this is not to put the burden on him, but he's sort of the one that manages the funds. This is all done by law, and you're correct. You are probably, if you are part of the Park District, because you are part of the subdivision, the Candlewood subdivision, you would be part of the Park District, which encompasses the whole, I think there's 3 or 4 phases or sections of Candlewood, and they all became part of the Park District as they were being built. I got a couple of questions, and I can't answer them. Maybe you can answer them. I know you're not necessarily an official spokesperson, but maybe you can help me here. Bear Creek, there are 10 individual parcels, correct, on Bear Creek?
Yeah, correct, yeah.
Okay, do you have any parkland or portion of the park area in Bear Creek?
No. We don't.
So
okay,
you do have 6 lots that do have actual physical access to the park, what we'll call the parkland of the Park District.
Except, yeah, there's.
And just for the public, so the public knows, this is not a public park. This is a park district which is accessible and usable only by the people within the park district. So I don't want people to get confused thinking this is a public park. It's not. This is paid for and maintained by the town, but it's paid by the people who live in the district.
Yeah. But there's also, I'm sorry, there's also 4 Mile Creek that separates Bear Creek Circle with the rest of Candlewood. And I noticed,
Well,
I did find out, wherever the bylaws were, I haven't get a copy, but I noticed, and at one point too,
I don't know that there are bylaws. I think it's part of the problem. I think if I don't believe there's an actual homeowners association, and that's part of the, not the problem, but it would be easier if there was, because then we'd be dealing with a group. Right now, it's sort of an amorphous collection of residents. But anyway, to get back to the Bear Creek situation, have you all taken a poll? Do you know what all the members want? Do the people who live in Bear Creek want to form their own district, or do they just want to separate out?
They just want to separate out and forget that there was an
I'm
actual
gonna-
district for, it's like I said, putting the money in and that I think that's where a lot of people have been there.
And Walt, and that's it, and I just want to make sure that we don't go off the rails on this. I think what your Bear Creek residents want is to not pay a district charge anymore into this.
Right.
All right.
And if that involved, go ahead, I'm sorry, I didn't mean
Right,
to.
that's what you want, and that's what I understand. And
Yes.
believe me, I'm really familiar with this
I've talked
because
to you in the
your,
past.
what did you call it, amorphous, it's a pseudo organizational structured president, vice president of the group over there,
Yes.
who do a wonderful job advocating on behalf
Right.
of the residents and all
Mm-hmm.
that. They have, for 2+ years, been with Charlie and I trying to get this, the end goal is, the way I understand it, and the way it's been communicated to the residents, is if, we'll just do round numbers. If there's 100 residents between Candlewood and Bear Creek, 10 of them are in Bear Creek.
Correct.
If the budget every year that they go to Paul Adams and say, this is what we want to do in the park district, our park district, not a public park, our park district, us 100 homes, it's $20,000 of stuff. Assuming everybody's house is assessed the same way, it's about $200 a year on everybody's tax bill. Is that correct, Paul?
That's about right.
Now, here's the problem. The Bear Creek residents really don't have access to most of that park district because of the 4 Mile Creek.
Yeah,
You got to get in your car, drive around state, and come in the other way, right?
correct.
So you don't want to be paying $200 a year, right?
Right.
Okay,
That's
I
the
have
big-
been listening to
Yeah,
these
yeah.
meetings, Charlie.
He knows.
So now this is a very critical point. Your end goal, if you are representative of the Bear Creek residents, which I think you are, the 10 Bear Creek residents, is you don't want to pay into this anymore. So what we're trying to do is take a park district, and let's say your park district over there is 1 acre. We want to split it into 2 park districts, but have the same aggregate of 1 acre. It's a very important clarification, because if we decide to get rid of some of it that is like touches your Bear Creek residents, right? Charlie, that's alienation, isn't it?
Right.
Now, what happens when we alienate park district land?
Well,
Patty, you're looking at me kind of funny.
Because I'm not hearing that we want another park district. I think they just want to be a street.
That's correct.
Okay,
Correct.
but here's the thing.
So, that you're saying that can't be done?
I'm going to go back to what Charlie said. This is a very unique situation.
Oh, I know.
The easiest way to navigate this, in the way that the state legislature and assembly will understand it, is to take the meets and bounds that make up, I'm just using round numbers, 1 acre of park district, and split it, hopefully in a way that 4 Mile Creek with the 6 properties of Bear Creek, that's going to be your park district for Bear Creek, but I take it the 10 of you will not want to do any maintenance on it with the town, and by Dez's definition, you won't have anything on your bill.
No, you're not required.
The 90 people that still live in Candlewood who seem very emboldened on doing this every year, if they continue on with $20,000 of maintenance on that side of 4 Mile Creek, that $20,000 will be split amongst 90 residents, the ones on the Candlewood side. Does that help explain it? I lost people, didn't I?
It's not my understanding. My understanding is they just don't want it to be part of that district, correct?
They don't want to be paying money, and I think that's a
So why do we
very
have to split that
important-
district then?
Well, I don't know how, well, Charlie, like you said,
Okay.
we can't seem to find a precedent and a way to do this.
Yeah, I could
Where you got 6 backyards of Bear Creek that are in a park district. How do you
I think you would,
take them out of it?
you said, well, your solution was, actually, to me, makes the most sense, and that is separate out Bear Creek into a separate park district. This group can then decide what they want to do. You can maintain or not maintain as you wish. If you do maintain, then it's done through the administration of the town. The town will then assess whatever costs there are to take care of it. Okay, that's the way the law is when a park district is created. The park districts are created before this development. Okay, so.
And I want to make sure, because and Paul, I don't know the exact numbers, but the history of this town is they made developments, is you got a 100-acre parcel, and we're going to build all these houses. But not all 100 acres is going to be the half-acre lot you have in the half-acre lot. You got streets, and some of this common area over the years was decided we're going to make it park district. Okay? And that's what they did over at Candlewood, so however many acres that is. I think there are over 100 park districts in town. Is that correct, Paul?
I don't know if there's quite that many, but it's quite a list.
Okay, because I remember over at the rec center, we were going over this with Glenn
Yeah.
Morrell, the parks director.
See, at least 80.
Okay.
It's up there.
How many, on an annual basis, barring an emergency like, the ash trees having to be cut down, how many have those park district members voluntarily work with you to try to set up a budget like Candlewood?
There's about 10 or 12 that are active.
Okay. So the majority of park districts in town, they don't come and say, we want to have 10 grand, 20 grand a year go into the maintaining of our woods in back of our house. It's a park district.
Correct. Most
The
don't know
majority.
they have a park district.
So it's probably safe to assume that the 10 Bear Creek people, if the easiest way to do this is to split the park district and have a Bear Creek Park District on this side of 4 Mile Creek and a Candlewood on that side, Walt, I'm guessing you and your 10 neighbors on Bear Creek won't be knocking on his door to say, we want to spend 10 grand on our park district. And if you're not knocking on his door to spend 10 grand, then you have no bill each year. Now, is your goal and your 9 neighbors on Bear Creek to no longer have a bill on a park district bill.
Yeah, it seemed, you know, speaking for myself, I'm not speaking Russian. All I know, in the beginning, when I found this out, and found out first, originally we just needed, we got a petition throughout the neighborhood signing that we wanted to, you know, split from Candlewood, what we would have to do. So that's what started everything.
And Walter, I'm gonna ask again. At the end of the day, take out all the legalities and stuff like that.
Oh,
The bee in the bonnet of the Bear Creek residents is that they get a town tax bill heretofore that has about $150 or $200 as a park district fee on it.
I think people, Randy can come up to, I think that they don't want to be having the, yeah.
Okay,
Now
Go
I
ahead.
can see everybody.
you got it.
Hi, Randall Trahan, 1094 Bear Creek Circle.
Did you get that, by the way?
What I would add, and I guess try to explain a little bit further, is we can break, and if we put money in, there's nothing to do. We've been told there's nothing to do on our street from a park standpoint. There's been no maintenance, there's
That's what I've
been
heard.
nothing done. So many, many, many thousands of dollars have gone in the last 12, 14 years since a handful of us have been there. And we've gotten nothing out of that. So breaking with them seems to make sense, however that works by not having to pay
So
in.
Randall, I just want to ask, and I just having a bad night on communication.
Yeah.
Is the end goal
End goal is not
that
to.
you don't have that $150 or $200
Yes.
line item that is the tax district on your tax bill?
Yes, because it seems like it's been made clear to us that we're not getting any money
Right.
out of that for
And
any.
that's the way it's been made clear to me too,
And we've
because you're
asked-
on this side of 4 Mile Creek.
And when we found out that we have all this money going in and have asked for things to be done, we've been outright told no. So the logical thing would be, well, then we don't want to put any more money into it. So however that has to work out to,
Okay, so you do understand if this is accomplished somewhere down the road, that there's a separation, you will no longer have access to the Candlewood Park District.
well, yeah, I mean, we haven't since any of us have
They
lived
don't
there.
now.
Not one,
No, I know, but I just want to make it clear that
not one
you
person on our
understand that.
street has ever stepped foot on their walkway, has ever done anything.
Originally, even in their bio, they didn't hurt, there's supposed to have been a bridge connecting the two.
Yeah.
But that was, I guess, from what I heard from Candlewood, that was put down because of the logistics of, if they have a bridge to connect it, they'd have to be big enough to get emergency vehicles and stuff, you know, so I understand that part. But yes, the main goal is not to have to put any money into Candlewood that we're broken from it, because I mean, exactly as Mr. Fuller was saying.
Yeah, and like I said, and believe me, not to air dirty laundry, but you know Mr. Pipitone?
Yes.
You know John?
Yes,
He's a great guy, isn't he?
Yeah, I knew him.
He's across the river from you, across
Yep.
4 Mile Creek. He's in Candlewood.
Yeah.
Almost every Sunday at 10:30 when I walk into Mass at Holy Trinity, he's an usher there. And he leads my family up to our seat and says, "How we doing on that Candlewood Bear thing?" Now, to me, there's a separation of church and state, and I really want to say, John, how dare you? You should be struck down with lightning right now. So I am really motivated to get this done for you. And I really think I understand what you're looking to achieve. And because it doesn't have precedent, Charlie, and all this, it seems as though Senator Helming's office and State Assembly Person Lunsford's office, what you wrote as the intention of this, which they need, now they're gonna go to Albany in May or June, and they're gonna go before the legislator and the assembly, and doesn't the governor have to sign off on stuff like this, Charlie?
Yes, this will actually be a law. This will be a state law.
Yeah, so I'm trying to find it, because what you wrote, Charlie.
Oh, I've got it
was
right here.
Very articulate
Right
as to
here.
what we were.
There's a justification.
Justification. So I want to read what Town Attorney Genesi sent to the state senator and the state assembly person, so they can take that with them to Albany. And as far as I know, they've got their 9 or 10 things they need for this, with one last thing: the town board resolution that we're in support of this. So this is what Attorney Genesi wrote on this. Justification for the separation of an existing park district into two separate park districts, Candlewood and Bear Creek Park Districts in the town of Webster. Currently, there are 123 parcels included in what is designated as the Candlewood Park District in the town of Webster. This park district exists to serve and for the use and enjoyment of the owners of these parcels, which are all but included in what is designated as the Candlewood Park subdivision and created at the same time as the subdivision was created and approved in 2004. Of all these parcels, 10 exist on the street designated as Bear Creek Circle, which street is separated from the other streets within the Candlewood Park subdivision. See the map included as part of the petition attached here too. A majority of the owners of a majority of the assessed valuation of the properties on Bear Creek have petitioned to separate from Candlewood Park District as they receive little or no benefit from their inclusion therein and from payment of fees and or taxes as needed to provide for the maintenance of said Candlewood Park District. Well written, by the way, Charlie, and dead nuts accurate of what we're trying to do.
Well,
And from what the senator and the assembly person said, the easiest path to resolve your issue. If we dissolve the part that's on the side, your side from 4 Mile Creek, that's alienation, is that correct? Now, what's that process?
Well, it's in the statute. I won't get into that right now.
Is it a little bit more difficult of a road to hoe?
Yes, it's more cumbersome.
Okay.
Yeah. This is cumbersome enough, but that's even more cumbersome.
So, I think I understand. We're just trying to get you to the point where the two of you and your 8 neighbors will no longer have money on your tax bill that goes into paying for the maintenance of a park district. But I just want to make sure that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because unless money begins to get allocated somehow to us on our street, in our area, but that doesn't seem like that's
Well, you would
ever
make that
going to be,
decision.
so.
If the 10 of you say, hey, look, this land behind 6 of the houses, you know, we'd like to do this to it. And if the 10 of you come, is that the way it works, Paul?
Yeah.
And then
They
you'd get a
present-
budget,
they
you'd get
present a
whatever,
budget.
if it's $8,000, whatever for that year, whatever it is, then we're going to, based on your assessed value of your houses, put that on your tax bill as the charge for that year.
It appears to me that what really makes this unique is that, unlike almost every other park district, this is a physically separate area
Yes.
from the rest of the district. And it's not only separate geographically, but it's also separate in terms of utility and access.
Yeah.
So it probably, I understand why they created it, because normally what they do is they have a coterminous park district and drainage district every time they have a subdivision. That's done, but as I said before, prior to the homes being built. But in your case, because of where the creek is and because only a portion of your homeowners have actual park district abutting their property, you're not getting benefit of what you're paying into it. So this is very different. I mean, I don't want it to appear that we're going to start sanctioning separation of park districts.
so-
Yours is a very, very different situation. It's very unique. And I think that's what the advocacy will be. If the town board approves or agrees to do this, the advocacy to the state legislature will be the uniqueness and the difference between your area and the rest of the district.
All right? So hang around, because you're the 6th resolution tonight. All right? Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you.
All right. Now, and next up is the April 7th Town Board meeting minutes for approval. I've reviewed them, and I make a motion that we approve them.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
All right. Next up, John, was it you?
Yes.
Okay.
I did review the bills, found them in order. I move that we pay the bills as submitted by the Director of Finance.
Second?
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye. And I reviewed the prepaid warrants as submitted by the Director of Finance and make a motion we approve those.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
All right, the next three are the Paul Adams Show. You want to just explain them all? and then
The
we'll
next
just
two
rattle them off?
resolutions have to do with budget transfers, and there's a third one for a budget amendment. The first one is, I thought we were done with 2021, but a bill came in to my attention late, about the middle of March. It was a significant bill for the removal of ash trees. And this bill, which is just short of $60,000, was charged to the General Park Town Fund. So I'm making a late 2021 budget transfer to cover that. And then on the 2022 side, I made a couple, 2 or 3 changes. One is to reallocate money to pay for court security. We had budgeted that amount as a wage compensation. We thought we were going to hire employees, but it turns out we hired a court security firm, so it's just being shifted to a contractual line. And then we also added some money to take Munis which is actually owned by Tyler Technology, to actually have Tyler Tech host Munis, which is the town's financial software package. So they're actually going to host it basically in the cloud, so they'll have our software and the data in the cloud, which adds a significant amount of security and strengthens the internal control and the risks and the time that IT has to spend trying to manage this rather large software package. And then I also made a change to create a new account for the police department. The account's going to be used to track comp time, the comp time bank buy down. Historically, this has always just been kind of buried in overtime and holiday pay, and we just create a separate account to call it out, to track it more efficiently in the future. And then the third resolution is actually an amendment to the Parkland Trust Fund. Toward the end of December, we received a donation from Mary and Michael Dambove to purchase some parkland at 688 Hembrook Hollow, which is part of the Dunbridge subdivision. So the actual, we received the revenue in 2021, but the actual purchase of the land took place in 2022. So I'm just expanding the Parkland Trust budget to cover that purchase.
Sure. Thank you. The only question I have is that the 2021 budget transfers, how far after year end can we still do budget transfers?
Well, you want to have it done before the audit report is
The audit.
issued. And there are audit reports being issued this week, so.
Okay. That makes sense.
This is about as late as you can go.
There you go.
About as late as you
Okay.
can go.
Any other questions from the board members on these?
No.
You know, and we usually never have any questions because, Paul, you get this to us a couple days in advance.
That's
You
right.
always give good, thank you. You take confusing stuff and make it kind of simpler for us. I appreciate that. So therefore, I'm going to make a motion to approve the 2021 budget transfers as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second?
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
And I make a motion to approve the 2022 budget transfers as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
And last but not least, I make a motion to amend the 2022 Parkland Trust Fund budget as presented by the Director of Finance.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
Aye.
Art, is this you?
It is me, Supervisor. So a resolution to publish a notice to solicit bids for the rehabilitation of the outlet pump station in accordance with the READY project and its funds. So this project is MO65 as it's called, of the READY project. Thankfully, Josh has kept us moving forward with all the READY meetings and paperwork. So the pump station will be raised literally in height 3 feet to keep it from flooding. And part of that project will be to install a standby generator. So this is to go out to bid for construction costs.
And do you know, is the village mimicking that as we speak?
They are, so I've given the village our bidding schedule and notification schedule, and they're doing it in parallel with us because their wet well capping is tied into MO65.
Sure.
So we're
And
doing it at
just
the same time.
For edification for the board and everybody, this is one of the ready projects, but it's a joint project between the Village of Webster and the town, and I think we are the lead agency as the town on it.
That is correct.
But they have to go out to bid for their portion, we have to go out for bid for our portion. If they're not working in concert, it'll make construction schedules a mess. So-
Correct. And just to note, this is a welcome opportunity. In the last few years, when the waters have risen, we've had to sandbag that station. We've had water getting into our wet wells, which is just causing problems. So this
Sure.
is a great project for the town.
Okay. Dolly, when would this be advertised in the Webster Herald next Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay. Which is the 27th, right? Okay, so unless the town board has any questions on this?
I do not.
Nope.
All right. I make a motion to publish a notice to solicit bids for the rehabilitation outlet pump station in accordance with the Ready Project MO65 to be advertised in the Webster Herald's Wednesday, April 27th edition.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye?
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Okay, well, I think we spent a lot of time talking about the next resolution. One thing I had said was that this is kind of, the Assembly and the Senate needs about 5 or 6 things. They pretty much have everything now. I think, Josh, you might have to just set, well, you have a map in there that you set in your thing. and
I'll need some
Yeah.
specifics on acreage, et cetera.
Yeah, the nice part is the meets and bounds are so easy to really.
I do have
kind of
maps.
thing
I
because you
have
got
maps, I have addresses, yeah.
4 Mile Creek. There's that's the natural split of this, so, unless the, town board has any other questions on this?
No, we covered it quite.
Did you, Jen?
No, you did.
You
Quite-
sure?
Quite well.
John?
Quite thoroughly.
John?
Absolutely.
John, I know you're a Christian man, right?
Let's roll.
Do you have people walking into church saying what's going on with that,
It wouldn't happen more
issue?
than once with me, I'll tell you that.
Okay. I walked into that one. You think I'd learn. I make a motion to separate Candlewood Park District into 2 separate park districts, Candlewood Park District and Bear Creek Park District.
Second.
Before you vote, actually, there's 2 parts to this. One of them is the resolution to split, the other is to send a home rule message to the legislature as part of the same.
Same resolution?
Yes.
Okay. So can you read that resolution as you would like it to? You make a motion to separate the Candlewood Park District into 2 separate park districts.
And send a home rule message to the state legislature.
And send a home rule message.
Requesting legislation to accomplish that.
You got that?
And I second.
I'll prepare
Okay.
a resolution.
And
I second that amended resolution.
Ready for the vote?
Sure.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Art?
Supervisor? I'm back. So resolution to set a public hearing to establish a sewer district for the Woodard Road sewer extension. The reason we're doing this, and we've just done one for Linda Lane, this is a sewer district that the residents came to us for. It is 6 homes, approximately 885 feet of main line. The cost per parcel exceeds the the New York State Comptroller's threshold. Part of the application process that we need to send to the State Comptroller is to have a public hearing. So that is why that is on there. We're just trying to keep the ball moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Art. And I'm going to make this motion, but then as we roll into the next one, number 8, about the professional services contract with Costage, that's tied to this.
It absolutely is.
And sequentially, it's okay to do these both at the same time because, you know, the results of the public hearing on May 19th may make this a moot point, and thus that would negate any contract we'd be signing on this.
Yeah, potentially, yes. So if I can jump ahead to 8, and that might help?
Yes.
Okay, so number 8, it's the phase 2 of the engineering. We met with the residents, and Paul was there as well. We've given them the expected costs per year. They've agreed to it. They would like to move forward. Again, having that contract signed really bolsters the application process and hopefully speeds it up. The application process is anywhere from 10 to 22 weeks. These residents, and I cannot say this lightly, have failing septic systems to the point that some residents cannot even do their own laundry. They have their in-laws doing it, which is a fantastic thing. I got to work on that. So really, we're going to have this. We're asking to the authorization to have phase 2 signed, and we're going to include that all in the packet. There are some extenuating circumstances as far as what's under the ground there, and we're going to do a little more investigation. But this will allow us to keep moving forward.
Is this tandem to the Linda Lane?
It absolutely is.
All right. You will get the information to me and to the town clerk, please, as to the addresses, et cetera. We're going to need that for the public for the public hearing, for the publication.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, then I make a motion to set a public hearing to be held on May 19th, 2022, right here in the town board room to establish, extend a sewer district for Woodard Road, and that would be published in the Webster Herald's May 4th edition.
Second.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
And since we've already covered number 8, I would move that we authorize the supervisor to execute the professional design services contract for Phase 2 of the proposed Woodard Road Sewer Extension Project in an amount not to exceed $18,000.
Second.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. Councilman Cahill, would you do me a solid?
No.
Because I don't have much left in this voice. You're not going to do this one?
Yeah, I'll do it.
As this is another sewer department one, I would like to jump in again. Let's keep it rolling.
Well,
You've been here all this time? Go ahead.
Why not? That's right. It's 10 to 9. So it's a, obviously we're surplusing out and recycling a bunch of pumps. To that point, I would like to mention the work of our staff who, over the last probably 6 weeks to 6 to 7 weeks, have removed over $2,000 of metal, which equated to a 25-yard dumpster of old and antiquated equipment, which gave our staff, our town staff, a cleaner, safer area to work in, and I know they appreciate it. So that's just part of that.
cool.
And they're doing a great job.
I'm done.
Okay. So I would move that we declare the following items for recycling from the sewer department. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number K9208. Pulsar 28H pump, serial number 62210-39-2. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial K9205. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number, where am I, K210. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number K9203. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number K9206. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number 9207. And then we've got another Pulsar 120 or 7120, serial number K9204. Pulsar 7120 pump K9209. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial K9201. There's a lot of pumps here. Wow. Holy smokes. Pulsar 7120 pump, serial number K9211. I didn't
So-
mention the asset tags, but.
So I will second it. I was hoping you'd read all those asset tags, but
I
I'll
knew you were.
let you pass on that. I second.
I covered that side on purpose.
I owe you, Jen.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. You want to take a shot at this one, Jenny?
Okay. Okay, and this is the resolution to declare the following item for to transfer from the police department to the Park and Recreation. 1998 Ford Econo van, asset tag, hashtag 002839.
Second.
Yeah, 39.
Good job.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And so Chris Bilo, did he lose a bet to the chief?
say.
Did he get a 24-year-old van or what?
Proving that we waste nothing
Boy,
here.
we don't, huh? Holy cow.
Got low miles.
Huh?
Only has low miles.
Is it?
Probably.
It's got.
Most of our cars do.
Holy cow.
I would move that we declare the following item for trade-in from the police department, a 2015 Ford Taurus, asset tag number 006343.
Second. Thanks, Patty.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye. And last but not least, I make a motion to declare the following items for transfer or recycle from the Community Development and Engineering Department, a 2-shelf bookcase, asset tag 2730. It's being transferred to Highway. A desk chair, asset tag 3301, being recycled. Optical level rod and tripod, asset tag 3367 for recycle. HP scanner and copier, asset tag 3404 for recycle. 4-drawer tan file cabinet, asset tag 3829 for recycle. And a community chest area improvement, asset tag 5132 for recycle.
Second.
Tie.
Supervisor Flaherty?
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi?
Aye.
Councilman Cahill?
Aye.
Councilwoman Wynn?
Aye.
Okay, well, we'll have the phones open for a couple minutes as we go around the room saying final words. Josh?
As was mentioned earlier, we are heading into our busy season. A lot of residents have projects planned for their properties, so if there's any question on what you have planned needs a permit, I urge everyone to call our building department, and we'll help you through the process if a permit is in fact required.
All right. Arthur?
Yes, sir. As Josh mentioned, it is a busy season. We seem that Greenlight and Frontier are out in full force. Our department reviews and acts on every stakeout that comes in. For the last 3-4 weeks, we've had 2 people out every day completing those stakeouts. We're trying to keep up with them. And as the weather is better, you will see our flush truck out doing some maintenance on laterals and mains.
Great. Paul?
Yesterday, I finished the town's 2021 annual update document. It's a New York State report that's due by April 30th of each year. It's 110 pages. Got it done. It just recaps our complete financial structure, the budgets, our refund, revenue, expenses, balance sheet, reconciles fund balance, and the whole kabang, and then supplemental schedules as well to support debt and everything else. So that's out of the way. So we finished up about 10 days at a time. So it's a good thing.
Jenny?
Well, thank you everyone for attending our town board today. It's always delighted to see people attending. And again, thank you for all the volunteers that help our communities. So hoping everybody will have a good night.
John?
I have nothing this evening, sir.
Pat?
I have nothing to add.
Charlie?
We're busy as usual.
I don't think anybody's gonna call, so we always end with Dolly.
Just a reminder that the fourth town and county tax installment payment deadline of 4/30 is approaching. It does fall on a Saturday, which means they will have till Monday, May 2nd.
Well, thank you, everybody who is in attendance and who watched tonight. This meeting is officially adjourned.